It's Charles with an entry for the 8th of April 2014, and today I'm going to talk about littering. And obviously people know what littering is. Well, in the most widely known definition, it's probably just throwing garbage on the street. Like you use a cup and then you just finish whatever's in it and then you just throw it down. It's the most widely accepted definition of littering, and that's pretty much what littering is. But to me, it also has to do with the amount of garbage you consume yourself. The amount of garbage you create, I should say. Obviously, I'm not making like the styrofoam packaging and shit like that, but I am like buying the product, and therefore the garbage is kind of due in part to me because I'm using it, and then I am, depositing the waste into a bin. So I'm the one consuming the product that the packaging comes in. Um, yeah, obviously I do my best not to litter garbage on the street. I don't think it's right. Some people that I know do have a tendency to litter at times when there's no garbage in sight, or they just don't feel like making the trip to throw something away. Um, yeah, I just don't agree with that. I've heard rationalizations that, it doesn't affect the world, they're just one person, yada, yada, yada. Somebody else, somebody cleans something. There's a street cleaners that'll come by that'll get it. And it's just like, that could be true in essence, but I still feel like it's just not something that I want to be a part of. I guess it's just, I hold myself in high regards in terms of I don't want to, I try not to take the easy way out on things, and I feel like just throwing something on the ground instead of walking it through a garbage can is taking the easy way out. And I do feel that overall, if everybody does it, it is obviously detrimental to our world, our planet. Um, yeah, like I said before, I create, I use stuff. So obviously in essence, create, like I was talking about the example for packaging, I create garbage. Um, I don't think I create more garbage than, the average person, but I don't think I create less garbage. Like I haven't made it a mission of mine to, use like less packaging, buy things that are like well packaged so that less waste is produced. Unfortunately, that stuff tends to cost more. Like the stuff that we sell at work, the greener packaged items, they have the tendency to cost more. Um, and unfortunately, I don't make enough money where I can actively make that, a part of my lifestyle. I'd like to be able to, but fortunately, it's not an option for me right now. I'm still at the option. I'm still at the part of my life where I have to buy things based upon cost. That being said, if something is a little bit more, in which case I can easily work into the budget, I will go for the better packaged. I do have a tendency to buy in bulk instead, because it's the better priced, but it's also, oftentimes instead of 15 little bags of chips that come in a little bag each, I'll just get the big one, and then I'll put it, I'll reuse the sandwich bag and just put the chips in there or something like that. Um, but that obviously it's more based upon the fact that I feel like I get the better purchase with the bulk item rather than the rather than trying to help the world any. If they had some kind of like a reusable, little baggie that stood up to washing, that didn't cost like some kind of arm and a leg. And I know that they do have those little containers or stuff like that, but those are more for children. The ones that I've seen are really, really small. They're like that big, and to be honest, putting something like that in my lunch it's kind of stupid because, what am I going to get? 3 chips in there? It's like 2 cookies? It's just like there's no point in that. I obviously eat more than that, and putting anything of that size in my lunch is just like a waste. it just takes extra space in my bag, and it's just something extra that I have to carry around. I mean, something that small, I might as well put like 2 sticks of gum in there, and it's just it's stupid. If they made like a big one, like I have a reusable cooler thing that I use for my lunches, or I reuse um, plastic shopping bags that I've gotten when I go shopping. I mean, I know I should I should really bring the reusable bags when I go shopping, which I do sometimes tend to do, or I bring a backpack and I just put it in there. But sometimes, to be honest, you get like meat and it drips all over the place and it's bleeding or it's bloody, and it just you would just it would just ruin a backpack, or it would ruin a reusable bag. Um, but yeah, I mean, I try and reuse. I do recycle everything I can. I do my best in that aspect. Any paper, or plastic, or metal thing, I obviously do my best to recycle. And I, I know that some places you can get fined if they catch you just throwing away recyclable things, which I actually think is it's a, I know people are going to hate me for it, but I actually think that's a good rule. I mean, unfortunately, if there weren't fines for it, I don't feel like many people would actively take the time for it. I mean, I know that people are busy, and I know that people with large families, they probably go through a lot of it. And that's why I feel like if there wasn't the fines for it, they would just throw it away. And unfortunately, that amount of waste for a community, or for, a whole country, would be very detrimental. I mean, if people stopped recycling, yeah, I mean, you would start to notice the effects. I mean, I think that there's a recycle fine in Chelsea, and I wonder what the numbers were when people were only asked to recycle versus when people were forced due to the fine to recycle. I'm sure it was quite a difference, and that's why I think it's actually a good rule. Obviously, I don't like to see hardworking people be, get in trouble and get kind of like shafted, or get money taken away from them. But I don't feel like they would, make the time to recycle unless they, or I don't feel like a lot of people would make the time to recycle unless they were actively forced to. Um, but yeah, I mean, people that don't recycle, or that don't agree with recycling, I kind of, I think it's stupid. It's just, it's making a problem for future generations. It might not actively affect you, but if you have any kids, or they have kids, it could become a problem. Obviously, like, if we all had that attitude, if the people before us had that attitude, then a lot of the stuff that we have now, we would not have. Some people have worked, like in World War II. I'm sure a lot of the Americans that went over there and fought, they weren't afraid of the Nazis, you know, they weren't afraid of the Nazis getting to America, but they still went over there because they felt like it was the right thing to do. And they felt like maybe eventually the Nazis would get over there, maybe not in their lifetime, but maybe if the Nazi party had built up enough, it might get over to America eventually, and it might be, become a problem. Um, there was a cartoon, a Justice League cartoon that I used to watch, and I enjoyed it a lot because I like those types of cartoons. But there was one story arc where it's kind of far-fetched because it begins with a time traveler, but the time traveler, he went to 1940s Germany, and he took over from Hitler, and he brought some inventions with him that enabled them to attack America. And then it was just this big story arc on like America fighting back and all of that, and this time it's on like the home turf and all of that. And I thought, I mean, obviously the time traveler part was a little far-fetched, but I did enjoy the part like, wow, what would have happened if they did get to America? Like, how would we have dealt with that? I mean, I know how the British dealt with it, and they were being attacked, and that's why they jumped into that war, or that's one of the major reasons that they fought with it. But it's just it, I guess I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, just about like about problems that don't affect one generation affecting another generation, and whether or not the current generation should, really, the people of that generation, how much they should really, you know, do to, stop that problem. I mean, it's just, I feel like I may not have kids, so how much does it affect me? You know what I'm saying? Like I could just throw shit on the ground, not can make, pollute the world, do whatever the hell I want, and not care about future generations. But I mean, for me, it would just be stupid, because I mean, I know that I'm a person of this current generation, and I know that, people of another generation deserve the same opportunities as I do. So I'm not gonna like destroy the planet for them, because hopefully somebody tried to keep it up for me. You know what I'm saying? like, like I remember there's a Highlander movie, I think, where the sun goes out. And so like I enjoy obviously the sun. I like daytime, it's warm, the vitamins and the sunlight, they help me live. And I feel like to destroy that for somebody else would just be, I was given, I was able to enjoy the sun. Why don't I leave it so that somebody else can enjoy the sun? Um, that being said, I don't have the time to really be proactive in eliminating pollution and littering. Like I don't have the time to really scour the streets, cleaning stuff up, organizing groups to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd like to be able to. I'd like to have some community service time, but unfortunately, my schedule is so erratic, and I just don't have the energy for it. And yeah, I mean, if I if I ever have an excess of money through any means, I hope that I would have, some philanthropic tendencies, maybe donate to some shelters or any, cleanup groups, or any community groups that clean up areas and stuff like that. Um, yeah. I wish I had that kind of time and those resources. But I do feel like I do my part. I do recycle as much as possible. I do try and limit my what is it called, my footprint, I guess. I walk places, or I take public transportation, but again, that's largely based upon the fact that I can't afford a car. So I mean, I do. I don't, go out of my way to kill things, because I just, I don't know. I mean, to get back to the point of littering, it's just, I feel like it's littering stuff and just throwing stuff on the ground. It might be an easy way, it might be the easier way for you, but it'll affect people in the end, is what I guess my conclusion is. Um, that being said, though, I remember I was watching this Louis C.K. special, and Louis C.K. he was in New York, and he had a friend who chastised him about littering in New York City, and Louis C.K.'s response was like, "What? It's New York City. Everything around us is litter," and that's kind of true, because I mean, in New York City, you have so many people, and the city creates so much waste, and it creates so much pollution, that all of New York is in essence like, it's pretty much degrading the world. Like it's harmful to the planet as a collective. Um, that being said, obviously, I don't expect people to change overnight. I don't expect the world to get fixed in, one generation. It's going to take time, but I hope that we as a people, we as a species do eventually make the time to, you know, help the planet, because the health of the planet is obviously, it's going down. You know what I'm saying? I'd like it to. I don't expect it to be reversed and to just all of a sudden go up. You know, that's too much of a change too quickly for us. I mean, basically all that we can do at this point in our life is just slow the incline. So instead of it being so sharp, maybe it, you know, it just slowly degrades. And then hopefully at one point we can get it, you know, maybe to stop the degradation. And then maybe if we're extremely lucky, we can find ways to, you know, make it healthier. Because I mean, realistically, if the Earth keeps declining at such an accelerated rate, eventually we're going to have to leave the planet. I mean, I'm not saying this generation, I'm not saying, you know, next generation. I don't know. I mean, I don't have that kind of knowledge. I don't have that kind of facts, or those kinds of facts. But obviously that shit is going to happen. I mean, I watch a lot of sci-fi because I enjoy it, and a lot of sci-fi is based around, you know, the planet becoming so polluted that we have to leave it and find somewhere else. So, you know, we have to send out the colony ships, we have to do all this shit. And then, but realistically, you know, how many people are going to make it off the planet if that happens? There's going to be a whole bunch of us left behind. And if the world is bad enough, then are we just going to be left to die? I mean, unfortunately, the reality of it is that you can't evacuate a planet if such a situation occurs drastically. Like, I think the movie 2012, that was a great, you know, that was a focal point of it. There have been some video games like Seventh Legion that I used to play when I was younger that dealt with, you know, only the best and the brightest getting to leave the Earth while the others are left to die and fend them for themselves. Blue Gender was another anime about it. And basically that's going to be a reality. I mean, they can't save everybody. Hopefully it's done with the lottery and it's not done by, you know, who can pay the most and that kind of shit. But there are going to be, you know, billions will die, unfortunately, if that happens quickly. And that's just, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that littering is going to directly cause that, but I'm just saying anything that can prevent or slow down such an outcome is obviously good. Yeah, I mean, that being said, I'm no Mother Teresa, so I'm not trying to pretend that I am. You know, I'm not trying to say that, you know, everybody else destroys the world while you know, I'm carrying that shit on my back, trying to fucking, you know, like save it or anything like that. And like everybody else has left the burning building while I got the Earth like on my back in a fireman's carry and I'm trying to pull it out of the flames or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I hope that, you know, we as a species can do our part and that each person that I know, maybe even if they don't do it themselves, maybe when they're around me, they'll say like, hey, I know he doesn't like it. I know it might actually bug him if they see me just doing something like that. And so maybe, you know, maybe I'll put forth the extra effort this time and throw it away. And then maybe I hope that, you know, it might become something that you consciously decide to do on your own. And, you know, maybe it'll become, hopefully it'll become a part of your life too. Because I mean, you know, doing your part, it's kind of what we all have to do, you know, you know what I'm saying? We all want the best outcome, but you can't leave it on other people's shoulders to, you know, get the best outcome. I mean, it's rooted in laziness, and I mean, we don't all have the same amount of power, you know. I mean, I'm obviously I have a lot less power to make, you know, green decisions for the world than say, you know, the CEO of a major company that produces, you know, that currently produces a lot of product or something like that. I obviously have a lot less power to change the world, but you know, I try and at least do my part. Maybe not make a positive change, but at least, you know, make as small of a negative impact as I can. That's pretty much it for tonight. Thanks for listening. Any questions, you know how to reach me. Thank you.